Welcome back to another episode of Bite Size and Extra Bite. Bite Size is all about connecting with top founders, entrepreneurs, and brand builders, giving you actionable insights you can apply into your business and your life. Today's conversation is with Collin McMannis, founder and CEO of super cool LA-based fashion brand Llovesick. I loved hearing about his journey and the meaning behind the brand. We dived into what drove Collin to start the brand, fueled by a desire to fulfill his purpose, his love for style, his love for fashion, and got into Vegas trips with UFC fighters and the truth about entrepreneurship. If you find value in this episode or any of the other episodes, please consider hitting the subscribe button. It would mean the world. Collin, welcome to Bite Sized.
Thanks.
Great to meet you, man. Great to meet you. I'm a huge fan of the brand. I've seen it around so much and just seen the growth and everything of the brand. But if anybody doesn't know you, doesn't know the brand, who is Collin? What inspires you? What do you do? What are you passionate about?
I am just another guy from Cleveland, Ohio, son of a military man, kid that loved sports growing up, and always really cared about how I looked with my clothes, how I looked on the field, and kind of just lived my life with wherever it took me. I was a military brat, like I said, so I moved around the East Coast a lot growing up. And then I got planted in Ohio, where I was born, around high school. And I always knew that there was more than small town Ohio.
Yeah.
I just had never seen it.
Yeah.
And so my first opportunity I got, I left and went down to Florida and then made my way to Arizona. And then that brought me to Los Angeles. Fashion was really never on my radar. All I cared about growing up was hanging out with my friends and playing lacrosse. And I never really thought about my future. I just thought about what was next.
Yeah.
And then in college, I think, is where I kind of found my niche for my own personal style. I started testing things and doing things on my own that were maybe not the norm or maybe not trendy, but I started finding my own kind of way. And I really liked fashion because it gave me a personal sense of individuality. Mm-hmm. And I could kind of separate myself from other people. Went to school in Arizona. Then I went off and did the typical graduate college, do a job that you don't like. And I went from job to job to job. And one day, with a lot of outside pressure and other things that were kind of pushing me in different directions, I just thought about my life in the future and what it looked like. And for the first time, I just was holy crap, I don't want to be who I am today in 10 years. And I got to figure out what I can do that makes me happy, what can give me fulfillment. And the one thing in my past that I always looked at was sports. I love sports and I love style and fashion. And I wasn't going to be anything in sports, has been athlete, but my style and fashion was there. And I just had to figure out how to monetize that. Yeah. And so a couple of years of, dealing with a lot of pressure of not particularly liking the position you are in life, I thought starting a clothing brand would be an amazing idea and I would be able to do it, which was crazy to look back on, thinking that I had what it took to make it happen. Yeah. 3 years ago, I never would have told you I'll be here today talking to you or doing whatever I'm doing. Yeah. But I think a lot of people can relate to that. Is a lot of people aren't doing things in life that they like or a job or anything. And I just took that, visualized it, and made that jump that not a lot of people are willing to make. Yeah. The jump of I'm going to try to do something that I don't know if it's going to make me money, but I think it's going to make me happy. Yeah. And that's how I started Llovesick.
Amazing. Yeah. I think that's a really important, what's going to make me happy? What's going to make me feel fulfilled versus always just chasing money?
Yeah, I chased money. I mean, I did medical sales before Llovesick. And we can get into the story about how I started if you want, but did just medical sales and I wasn't happy. And I thought making more money, because a lot of my problems I thought were not being able to pay bills, not being able to go on trips I wanted to, not having everything I wanted to.
Yeah.
But it wasn't that. It was just, I was doing nothing that gave me fulfillment.
Yeah.
And that was like the core root of the problem.
Yeah. So a lover of fashion and style. What were some of the brands you liked as a kid? What were your favorite brands growing up?
So as far back as I can remember, the one thing that I was obsessed with was East Bay magazine.
Okay. I
don't know if you remember that.
No, I grew up in England, so it might not have translated over.
East Bay magazine was this magazine back in the 2000s. You get it every 2 weeks, and it had all the dopest sneakers, had all like the sports gear and all like the accessories. And it was just an online clothing store that just held all this stuff. They had all the Jordans, all the turf shoes, different Nikes, different Adidas, like literally. You know how hard it is to like get Jordans online now or like get a cool pair of sneakers?
Yeah.
They had them all in the magazine, 109, like high top Jordan 1s, $102, like the heyday of like sneakers. And I remember that coming every month. And, I didn't have money, but I would circle all the things I wanted. And I'd beg my mom, I need these new shoes for lacrosse. Like, Mom, I need these new Air Force Ones, or I need these new Nikes. And I always just cared about my shoes. Yeah. That's where it started, was like my shoes.
Yeah.
I was always obsessed with certain length of my sock, certain white sneaker, and then I can make everything else work around it.
Yeah.
But I always started with shoes. And to this day, I start a lot of my outfits with shoes.
I will say, as someone who likes his style and fashion as well, an outfit can be made or broken with the shoes.
Oh, yeah.
100%. It's the first thing I look at. When you walked in, I looked at what shoes you were wearing.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, now it all makes sense.
I love shoes so much. It's like funny. I got a lot of friends that aren't as fashionably in tune as I am, but I'm always like, hey, get yourself a pair of like white sneakers. Like they look better if you wore it like this. Like take the Vans off occasionally and try like a leather sneaker or something like that. So shoes were like where it all started.
Yeah.
And so that was like not necessarily a brand, but that magazine, I remember so vividly making me love the whole world of fashion.
Yeah.
Obviously, like as an athlete growing up playing sports, I loved Nike.
Yeah.
Nike was, if I could be dripped in Nike, I would have been. I also loved polo. We were an East Coast family up until I went to high school because of the Marine Corps. And I always, not regrettably, but my mom dressed me for a long time.
Yeah.
And so I wore a lot of like surf brands, but I also wore polo all the time.
Yeah, yeah.
I loved polo sport. And I would always just wear polo and stuff. And I never really thought about clothing like that ever, about like, oh, I love this brand. I just like found pieces I liked and then made them work.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So you kind of mentioned you're doing medical sales. You're now living in LA. You don't feel fulfilled. And you're like, there's a push to do something that is going to bring kind of like purpose and everything to what you were doing. And fashion was obviously the first thing. So talk to me a bit more about the mindset and the steps you actually took of like, how did you get out of medical sales, come up with the brand, and what were the first kind of steps that you took to really get the brand going?
If we take like a few years step back, after school was over in Arizona, my best friend was living out here, and I had seen California for the first time when I was in Arizona because we played lacrosse and we went to San Diego.
Yeah.
And I had never seen it before. And we were in La Jolla, you had the cliffs and the houses, and it's like, oh my God, I'm an Ohio kid.
Yeah.
Seeing this is like, this is beautiful. I've never seen this. So when I was in Arizona, I was like, I want to be in California one day. That's where I want to be. Fast forward, we graduate, my buddy is out here, and I'm visiting him from Arizona every other weekend because I'm burnt out in AZ, been there for 6 years. I don't really want to be there. I'm working a staffing job during the day, and I'm working at a nightclub at night.
Okay.
We go to a club, we meet a guy, he owns a brand. He pretty much asked me if I want to be a salesman. I say, absolutely. I come out here for an interview. He hires me pretty much on the spot, and I moved out here a month later, and that was in 2015.
Okay.
Our office is right down the street on 9th, the Apparel Mart.
Okay.
9th and Main right here.
Yeah.
It was a brand called Minimal.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I know. Oh, shit.
So I was working for them as wholesale and I was doing the social media. And so I got my first like real taste of what fashion, living downtown, like being kind of surrounded by it, seeing spools of fabric everywhere. Just like kind of like that Made in America vibe. Like I'm young. I don't know what I'm doing. It's my first job that I like, working for them. And so I really kind of got engulfed in the whole scene, meeting people. And then started doing more for the company, wanted more money, and the more money wasn't going to come. So I got let go. And then at that point in my life, I was like, okay, I want more money. And that's what brought me to medical sales.
Got it. Okay.
I was like, I'm going to chase money now. I think that's my problem. I just need to have more money to have more fun and be more happy. And so got into medical sales. And within 6 months, I knew that it wasn't for me.
Yeah.
Wearing a suit every day, covering up my tattoos, shaving my face, just being the black sheep in the company, being one of the younger guys in the company. It was just a little cutthroat for me. Sales is a tough game if you don't like the product you're selling.
Yeah.
It's a tough game.
Yeah.
And so I was doing that. And about a year in, probably, I realized, okay, I have to get out. I don't know how I'm going to get out, but I have to get out. And then I started thinking about, like we talked about, started thinking about the things that made me happy in my life. And sports and fashion were the two things.
Yeah.
I was just very unhappy.
Yeah.
I didn't totally engulf myself into the brand, into the company. So I didn't do the job as well as I could, which made the job harder.
Yeah.
Which made me not as good of an employee, which made every phone call from my boss thinking that I messed up or I did something wrong. A lot of anxiety.
Yeah.
I was working with the veterans, 24/7 on call. So it was just a lot of pressure.
Yeah.
I was a young kid, not knowing the ins and outs of the machines or the products that we're using. You can imagine how it's like when you go to class when you were a kid and you're just totally not prepared for the test.
Yeah.
And you had that feeling of like, God, I fucked up.
Yeah.
Like I'm not ready.
Been there.
Yeah. And we all have.
Yeah.
That's the feeling I had every day.
Yeah.
I woke up with like a hot chest every day.
Yeah.
Just because I was uncomfortable. And I lived with that for about a year before I decided I was like, I got to do something that makes me happy. So sports weren't going to be a play for me. I wasn't going to be an agent, obviously not going to be an athlete. And I said, I love fashion, but I just don't think I can do anything on my own. So I'm going to just apply to jobs and be like a marketer or some small role. Kept getting denied from GOAT, Hypebeast, wherever brand I applied to. And then my mom and sister were in my ear, like, you should just try your own thing. Maybe make some hats. You always wear hats. It's so important. You wear hats. So I was like, I can't do that. I'm not smart enough. I don't know how to start a business. I don't know how to do anything. I don't have money. And then 6-7 months goes by of still doing my job. It's getting worse. I'm hating it more. COVID's here. It's like, okay, am I going to get fired because of COVID? But I still have to work really hard, but I hate my job. And it's just all these factors of not being fulfilled, not being happy are just in my ear. I'm also seeing this girl that I really like. And for the first time in my life, I'm open to dating a girl. I've never really dated girls. I just really value my personal time.
Yeah.
And not that I haven't found the right girl, but maybe I was the problem. I don't know. I always say I didn't find a girl that is cool enough to give up my time, but maybe I just wasn't cool enough.
Yeah.
I don't know. That relationship's going south because she realizes I hate my job, and I do hate my job. And now I'm feeling this pressure of my personal life and my work life falling apart. Nothing is going right. I have zero fulfillment of my life, and I'm losing this girl that I really like. And for the first time in my life, I opened up to this person, and now I'm losing it. So it's this massive pressure as a 25, 26, 27-year-old kid that I haven't experienced before. And I'm dealing with it by myself. I'm living in an apartment by myself in Brentwood because I got the money.
Yeah.
Medical sales is paying for my things, but I'm just not happy.
Yeah.
And the two pressures for the first time in my life, put me into the corner that I've never been in mentally before. And I like was breaking down day by day. And I just looked at my life in the future and I said, like, what am I going to be? Like, am I going to feel this way? Am I going to be doing this job with like a potential wife or kids and hate my life and resent them and hate my job and be that guy on TV that you see is stuck in his life because he never made a move?
Yeah.
And I just said, I can't live like this. I can't do this. So at that moment, I remember I was in my apartment by myself drinking red wine, and I never, ever put out things online, but I put out a little podcast, or I put out a little story. I said, hey, I have no idea what this brand's going to be, but I'm going to start a brand in the next couple of years. I have nothing. I have no clothing. I have no pictures, but I'm going to have a brand. I'm going to call it Llovesick. If you want to follow me, follow me. That was in 2019. Okay. I put that on my story, and I have that little screenshot saved today. And the idea around the name was, the word lovesick means to feel sick without something. Mm-hmm. And for me at that point in my life, I was sick without any fulfillment, and I was sick without any companionship in my life. And the two things just made me like miserable.
Yeah.
And I just couldn't stand it. And then I put the double L on there for my first name, Collin.
Okay.
I had two L's in my first name. It was always a thing growing up. Are you like a 1L Collin or a 2L Collin? As I got older, no one ever talked about it. But as a kid, when I meet other Collins, that was a thing. And so I was like, okay, I want to make this a little unique, and I'll put a double L on it.
Yeah.
To bring it really back to my life.
Yeah.
And I wanted to go with the name Llovesick because it's so relatable.
Yeah.
And there's so many people in all of our lives that, no fault to them, because I was there once. You guys were probably there once as well. But they're doing something that doesn't make them happy, but it's safe and it's paying the bills, and they've been doing it for a long time.
And that's hard to get out of for some people.
It's so hard.
You know, you get caught in a trap of like, well, how do I give this up to do something with more fulfillment? You know, if you've got like rent to pay, bills to pay, and it's, like you said, safe and comfortable, like taking that leap of faith. Whereas it sounds like for you, it was just that overwhelming pressure to do something that gave you fulfillment. You know? Because you could have stayed in the sales job. Yeah.
And again, like, it's not easy to do. And the biggest thing in my life that had to change is I had to make sacrifices.
Yeah.
Like I had to, when I had that moment about looking at my life, I had to like really tell myself, like, dude, you can't go out anymore the way you do. You can't drink. You can't party and buy clothes the way you're doing it. You can't travel. If you really want to change, you're going to have to tighten up for a full year. Save your money so that when you do want to jump and make that next step, that you have some funds to take care of you, because you can't just quit tomorrow and start your idea. Like, you don't have any money.
Yeah.
So you had to, that was like the biggest challenge for me, was like telling myself, like, these are real sacrifices that you have to make. Yeah. And I think that's the one thing that holds most people back. Yeah. They don't want to sacrifice the life that they're living for potential future life that could be better.
Yeah. That's a really good point.
I think that's that thing that keeps people here. Yeah. And then you see other people over here. Yeah. I think that's the biggest difference.
I agree. I love the meaning of the brand. I didn't know that.
Yeah. It's relatable to everybody.
It is.
It really is. Like at one point in everybody's life, unless, you know, you're son of a billionaire that's had a great idea, I don't know. But at one point in most people's lives, it's like you're doing shit you don't like. Yeah. And like, you got to figure out what makes you happy.
Yeah. So once you decided, okay, I'm going to do this, and you made that post on social media, did you know manufacturers? Did you know design? Did you know how to bring things to life? Because I think that's the other thing, is like, a lot of people can have an idea, or maybe they've said, okay, I've got this idea. How do I bring that to life? So how did you go about, after that post, okay, what do I do? How did you figure that out?
The answer to the question is no. No design experience, no schooling of how to do design, not really a great artist. I really was blind to what I thought I could do. Yeah. I was so fed up with my life that I didn't even think about how to start it. I just thought about what I could start.
Yeah.
From that day forward, I just started learning. I started reading a little bit, mostly just watching YouTube videos.
Yeah.
Taking my social media experience from my minimal job and telling myself, okay, I know how we marketed our product with that company. Like, how can I market? I know how to work social media. I know how to like get people's attraction. You know, affiliated marketing was huge for minimal.
Yeah.
Getting product to people and having them post. That was gigantic.
Yeah.
That was in 2015, 16 when it really started popping.
Yeah.
So I knew that was going to be a play. But one thing as far as the design experience, like I just knew I had a good eye.
Yeah.
And I knew what looked good. And creating that stuff wasn't even a thought of my, like I have 10 things that I have to learn to start this brand, and like actually designing and creating it was 10. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was like the last one. Everything else was like, how do I start a business? How am I going to market it? What are the products going to look like? Who am I going to give them to? Those were like the most forefront things in my mind. And what I learned from those YouTube videos is like the story.
Yeah.
The meaning behind the brand has to be important.
Yeah.
Or you're going to be here and gone tomorrow.
Yeah.
One thing I learned from like Virgil YouTube videos or like Jerry YouTube videos was like brands that last are able to connect with their community on a deeper level than just their t-shirt.
Yeah.
There's a meaning behind why they're buying the brand.
Yeah.
And that's why I was like, Llovesick.
Yeah.
That is my goal. That's my golden nugget. Like this meaning that I have felt can relate to everybody.
Yeah.
And I thought that like dumbly was like, that's going to take me where I need to go.
Yeah.
But designing and stuff, I just I still don't know what I'm doing, to be honest. Like,
doing all right,
I'm taking what I generally like and what I think people look good in, whatever type of style you have, and then trying to create it uniquely in my own.
Yeah.
But like, as far as building the brand, the one idea I knew was solidified in my head was I'm going to market it off the backs of professional athletes.
Yeah.
The one thing that inspired me growing up was Chad Johnson, Terrell Owens, these like big NFL stars wearing flashy jewelry with tattoos, coming into games. I was like, man, those guys look so cool. Like, I want to be like those guys. And I just thought about like going to sports games and like you see 50-year-old men wearing jerseys.
Yeah.
And you see a 5-year-old kid wearing a jersey. Like they are just people at the end of the day, these athletes, but they are icons in world because like they fill stadiums.
Yeah.
And they have grown men and small kids wearing the same jersey, rooting them on and getting pissed when they don't do anything. They're such inspirations to people without people really knowing.
Yeah. And
I thought, if I just get my product on these guys, people are going to think like I think and see Odell Beckham in a hat and be like, well, shit, Odell's wearing that. I kind of want to wear that now too.
Yeah.
And so that was my idea with my marketing. But the designing aspect, I had no history. I had no knowledge of what I was doing. I just started taking little things that I learned from the minimal job, like how to draw a pattern, like what certain fabrics meant, and then start applying them on paper. It's so crazy, like now talking about it out loud, how I just didn't know what the hell I was doing.
I think it's a common thread with a lot of the founders I talk to, that the naivety in the beginning is actually beneficial.
Yeah.
Because you don't know what you're doing, but you're just like, fuck it, I'm going to figure it out. Yeah. I don't know how, but I'm going to, because I'm driven by this idea. And kind of, if you know too much almost, do you see what I mean? Like,
I think most of my drive came from never wanting to feel the way I did before again.
Yeah.
The feeling of like complacency, the feeling of like no purpose.
Yeah.
The feeling of like not doing anything that means anything to you.
Yeah.
I think that is what drove me the most.
Yeah.
And now what drives me the most is obviously the name and what I've been able to do. But that naive feeling of like, I don't know what I'm doing, but I know that I like this and I hate what I'm doing now.
Yeah.
And so I will figure it out on the way no matter what.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a powerful motivator.
Oh, it's crazy.
You mentioned the marketing side, and I want to kind of ask you about that because obviously marketing is the thing I mainly do.
Yeah.
So you mentioned like affiliates and getting it onto, NFL players and stuff. Was that the initial, okay, I'm going to develop these cool products and I'm going to get it on these cool people and that's going to help attract an audience? Is that the first thing you did from a marketing perspective?
Kinda. I started, and I think it was much more powerful then than it is now, but I used to boost Instagram posts.
Oh yeah. That used to work so well back.
Oh my gosh. I used to, when I started the brand, like with just a couple products, I was boosting posts and getting followers and comments and likes and people really engaging with the brand.
Yeah.
And that was like my first kind of marketing, if I'm starting all the way from the beginning, first kind of marketing play.
Yeah.
Is because that's all I really knew.
Yeah.
But I knew that I wanted to get on athletes, but I just didn't know how. So I was going crazy in the DMs, liking pictures, commenting, just trying to be noticed on like the page. And then, I got lucky with my first kind of big fish. I got a DM from a guy who said he represented an athlete and he wanted to know if I wanted to gift his athlete, his client. He's like, hey, we're in LA for the summer. We got a house over on Melrose. You want to come over and gift some product? And I was like, yes, absolutely. The athlete was Buddy Hield. He's a NBA player from the Bahamas. Mm-hmm. Currently, he's a 76er. But at the time, I was like, yeah, athlete. Oh my gosh, 100%. I'm down.
Yeah.
I pack up my stuff. I drive over there. I'm like pumping my hands, walking to the front door because I'm nervous. And I'm like, this is it. Like, this is that first moment. Walk into this house, beautiful house. Buddy's on the back porch, bunch of diamonds on. People are there, like a couple other people who are now my friends these days. And I'm walking in with like a bag and just this kid just like with like a dream and like, this is like the first opportunity where I'm gifting an athlete.
Yeah.
And him and I hit it off. Like we have like a great conversation for an hour or two. I give him a bunch of gear. I meet his friends and it's a good time. And he was the guy who pretty much started the trend for me.
Yeah.
He wore the lover's hat a while, like for a long time.
Yeah.
And I think the reason he wore it, and this, I got very lucky, but I think one of the reasons he was so like helpful in wearing it and still to this day does, when we met, I never asked him for anything. All I did was like, hey man, these are my clothing. Like, I hope you like it. If you want to wear it, great.
Yeah.
I never asked him post. I never asked him for pictures. I just gave him a bunch of gear. We had a great time talking. He actually, as I was leaving the house, asked me to make him a custom hat because he was going to the Floyd Mayweather Jake Paul or Logan Paul fight at Hard Rock Stadium the next weekend. I was like, yeah, I got you. I can do this. This is my first project. I'm there. Leave the house. We dap up. Great time. I make the hat the next week. I mess it up with some of the embroidery. I call him on Saturday. I'm like, dude, I'm so sorry. I call his agent. I'm like, so sorry. I can't get this done. I can't ship it overnight because it's Miami to LA. It's not going to make it. I apologize. I'm crushed. I just fucked up this one opportunity I had. I go to the beach with my boys. It's like Saturday afternoon. I get a call like 2 hours later and it's from a number I don't have. And it's Buddy Hield. And I'm like, hello. And he goes, what's up, Collin? What are you doing? And I'm like, I'm just sitting at the beach, man. I'm so sorry. I fucked up your hat. Like, I apologize. He goes, dude, not a big deal. What did you say you're doing? I was like, I'm at the beach. He goes, okay, pack your bags and go home right now. I was like, what? He goes, go home and pack your bags. I was like, why? And he goes, I'm flying you to Miami tonight. You're going to bring me that hat and you're going to party with us. And I was like, are you serious? He goes, yeah, you have a red eye at 11 o'clock tonight. Like, go home now. And I was like, fuck, holy shit. Flies me out to Miami. He wanted the hat, puts me in a house with his family.
Oh, wow.
We go to the fight. I bring a bunch of extra stuff because I'm like, maybe there's other people there. Our whole squad is wearing Llovesick hats.
Amazing.
We go to the fight, we go out, and that's how we create a relationship.
Yeah.
And I think he invited me just because I never asked him. That the one thing I always look back on when I ask my father, it's like, man, these athletes are so nice to me.
Yeah.
Or like, why are they being cool? they're like, my dad said, you're not asking them for anything.
Yeah.
So if that's a good piece of advice, I would say to any like young founder, if you're trying to get the product out there, don't ask for stuff.
Yeah.
Especially with guys that are like high level and that make a lot of money. I think everybody in their life is asking them for things.
Yeah.
And don't be that one more guy, and be the guy that's not asking them. Maybe they can just relate to you another product. So like that athlete started, and he started wearing Llovesick, and then Andre Drummond, the old Laker, Chicago Bull now, he saw Buddy's story, and then he asked me, and then it was kind of a snowball effect from there. And then I just started getting smaller athletes, lacrosse players, or like smaller football players, or like trainers.
Yeah.
And I just started filtering my gear out. And then I realized, I was like, wow, if I just keep giving my gear to these big athletes, more people, and the brand's growing at this point, like we're doing more sales. I was like, I think this is a good marketing play here.
Yeah.
And so I just started riding that hard.
Amazing.
And I love sports.
Yeah.
So it's like right up my alley.
Yeah.
And I love, like, you know, I mean, even this tracksuit, like everything kind of has a little bit of an athletic spin to it. You know, the denim we dropped obviously is denim, but it's got a little athletic feel to it.
Yeah.
And so it's right up the alley. It kind of played perfectly.
That's amazing.
I don't think I knew I was going to do that.
Yeah.
I think it just kind of started happening.
And it kind of hit your two things, fashion and sports.
Exactly.
So you feel connected.
I brought the sports back into it.
There you go. That's amazing. And I love that bit about, like you said, authenticity with these athletes, you know, and with these people not asking, you know, just like, here's my product, do you like it? And I think that's probably a big part of it as well, right?
Yeah.
You're not asking for things from them, and you're just like, here's my product. If would love for you to wear it. And I think that probably went a long way.
Yeah, 100%. And I think that's, you know, Buddy and I are just friends to this day. It's been 4 years. Anytime he comes to LA, he hits me up, he'll give me a ticket, I'll give him new gear, and he'll rock it that night into the game.
Yeah.
Don't ask him. He just does it.
Yeah.
And I think it's because of our first meeting.
Yeah.
I know it's kind of cliche, but I really truly think that first impression was like, this kid's not asking me for anything, and he's got a dream, and he's like going for it.
Yeah.
And I think he appreciated that.
Yeah.
And I think it means the world to me, but I think it also meant the world to him.
Yeah.
That I wasn't like, yo, will you post? Like, can you post tonight or something like that?
Yeah.
So it goes a long way, man. And that's definitely some advice that I would share, is just is like, give, and eventually you'll get in return.
Yeah. 100%.
Yeah.
So again, kind of like that was the launch pad for things, but from a marketing perspective, how has that evolved? Because obviously as a brand scales, I'm sure you've gotten into like paid media and all of that good stuff. So, and I think you started right before iOS 14, right? All the changes of iOS 14 happened probably. Yeah. So what does marketing at Llovesick look like now?
We do paid media, paid ads. They do pretty well. The one thing that we're still growing and learning is content wise.
Yeah.
And how do I make the right content for paid media? Because I have content that I make for social media that isn't quite the same for, you know, paid media.
Yeah.
And that is a big challenge that I'm facing. You know, I'm a new business owner. I've never done this, so I'm learning as I go.
Yeah.
But we started off with just social organic growth.
Yeah.
And that's how our marketing was built. I just wanted to make the best products that I thought people would like and engage with my audience, and hopefully that would keep us rolling. But obviously things have changed in social media and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And so we've diverted to running ads, which has turned out to be pretty lucrative for us. But another way I try to market my product is through like small collaborations and just getting the name out there. In the past, you know, a year and a half, kind of going back a little bit, I do a lot of guerrilla marketing. Mm-hmm. Like, I don't know if people still do that as much these days. I don't know what your experience is with that.
Not enough.
Yeah.
I'm a huge fan of it.
Yeah.
And I'm actually, you know, explain what you mean by guerrilla marketing for people who might not understand what that is.
I'm in the streets promoting my brand.
There you go.
As the owner.
Yeah.
I remember I was sticking stickers on every single sign in the city.
Yeah.
I was going when I lit. So one thing I learned from Jerry Lorenzo on a YouTube video, he used to be a club promoter. Mm-hmm. And he was talking about the first time that he started Fear of God. He was trying to get his products out there. and he was promoting in the clubs with all these influential people around him. And he was like, I'm just going to start bringing my products and give it to this rapper or give it to this person and have them wear it in the club. And then other people are going to start seeing them.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, it's genius. Like, I'm not a club promoter though. What can I do?
Yeah.
But I do remember looking back, and when I was in Arizona, I worked in the clubs and I worked there for 3 or 4 years, and I knew a lot of the people in the clubs, not a promoter, but a bar back, same shit. And so I said, have you ever been to Scottsdale, Arizona?
Yeah.
The party area is like crazy.
Yeah.
Where all the clubs are. And so I thought to myself, I was like, okay, I have a pretty good like fan base out there because I'm from there, and a lot of people that knew me were still there. So I'm going to go out to those clubs. I'm going to go to every single one of them, and I'm going to give them all 20 hats.
Yeah.
I'm going to give it to the bartenders, the managers, and the bottle girls. And I'm going to try to get them to wear it when they go out, when they work, whatever they do. So I gave them all those products, and they started wearing them.
Yeah.
And then all the kids in the city that like went out every night, same people that go out all the time, started seeing the managers and the hot bottle girls and all these people wearing the hats. And then in Scottsdale is my number one selling place, or Scottsdale, Phoenix is my number one selling place for Llovesick right now because of that. So I was literally in the street just handing my products out. Anytime I drove to Arizona, anytime I drove around the city, I would have a trunk full of gear.
Yeah.
And I would legitimately, if I saw somebody that had style, I would be with my friends. I'd be like, yo, man, you got like great style. I got a clothing brand I just started. Here's like a sticker with like a discount code. Check us out.
Yeah.
And I still do that to this day.
Yeah.
And it's like, people are like, you still do that? I'm like, yeah, like I'm still a small brand. Like, I'm still trying to grow. I'm still trying to get the word out there.
I love that.
So I'm literally just telling people about my brand.
Yeah.
I also, in Scottsdale was starting to like, hey, like you guys see my product here, started to throw like these little mini parties at these clubs. Mm-hmm. I would make them like 100 hats. They would like pay wholesale. So I would like come even on the hats. I don't make or lose any money. They sell them. They throw a party for me.
Yeah.
And then we just promote our brand.
Amazing.
And so we would throw these parties every like 4 months.
Yeah.
In Scottsdale.
Yeah.
And so the noise of Llovesick was growing in Scottsdale, and then I started doing it out here.
Yeah.
And so like still to this day, and I think my number one marketing tool is just me.
Yeah.
No doubt about me.
And that's powerful though, because especially in this day and age, and I think we're seeing more of it where it's like founder-led brands. People want to know about the founders, right? They want to feel like they're part of something. And I love that guerrilla marketing approach.
Yeah.
And not enough brands do it, because I think we went through a period of time with Facebook ads where it's like, I don't need a story for the brand.
That was before the iOS 14, right?
Yeah.
Okay, that's when they were crazy.
I can just run ads and it's going to pop because of the power of Facebook. And I think, I'm seeing with all the brands we work with as well, it's like, the guerrilla marketing, but also building community. Mm-hmm. Why you see more and more brands, founder-led brands, doing more content on YouTube behind the brand series. A couple of brands that, I know as well, doing like run clubs or get-togethers, you do parties, right? It's got to feel you like relevant for the brand.
Trying to get away from parties. Trying to do some more healthy.
Okay. Do a party and then a run.
Yeah.
Like just mix it up. But it feels small, but it's powerful.
Uh-huh.
Right? Because if you get a community of people wearing it, talking about it, that can spread. And I think people forget about the power of word of mouth.
Yeah.
And just in-person connection.
Everybody's on their phones, so they don't really think about it.
Yeah. And just relying too much on, I'm going to run ads, I'm going to do traditional marketing. That's really important and it helps with scale. But I love what you're mentioning.
Did you ever see the Obey documentary?
Yeah.
That's where I got it from.
Yeah.
They used to have the big spray painted Obey face on the Santa Monica Bluffs coming down PCH.
Yeah.
Over on the coast. And there's a documentary about those guys when they started their brand, how they were just in the streets, just talking about the brand, littering the streets with like newsletters or just like pictures of the Obey guy everywhere.
Yeah.
And that's where like it kind of started. I watched that and I was like, damn, like those guys were just out there just like talking about the brand.
Yeah.
Obviously you have to do the back end stuff that you talked about, like the marketing and the ads and like the story. But like, I don't think I'll ever stop talking about the brand.
And you clearly love it.
Yeah.
It's clear, like I can tell like the passion and the authenticity of like, well, even if you didn't need to do it, to your point, you wouldn't stop it because it's you, it's your brand, it's something you are so passionate about.
Yeah, I'm proud of it too.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and like, and I'm not just trying to be like, I'm not just trying to get like rich and have my brand grow and be popular, but like, I truly believe that the story resonates with people.
Yeah.
And like, if me, Collin McMannis, can quit his job and start this brand, then you can do the same thing and do something that you love.
Yeah.
Maybe it's not the big, like, quit your job and start a company, but maybe it's like picking up that hobby that you love.
Yeah.
Because it gives you fulfillment.
Yeah.
That's like what I really think how the brand sings to people. It's like, it just giving them the reminder. It's like, dude, do something in your life that makes you happy.
Yeah.
Regardless if it's making you money, regardless if it's the one thing in your life that you do, like, it's just a message to like find the fulfillment.
Yeah.
Even if it's something stupid.
Yeah.
If it makes you happy, then you're living the good life.
Yeah. I agree. Mm-hmm. And kind of on that note, as someone who started a brand because you hated the position you were in, mm-hmm. What advice would you give to someone like listening to this who's maybe in a similar position, listening to this or like thinking to themselves, what can I do? Like, what advice would you give them?
What I did was I looked at my life as an entirety and thought about all the things that like interested me.
Yeah.
From childhood on, what like made me happy growing up? What did I love the most? Like, what gave me fulfillment? What was I always trying to do? And, I landed on sports and style.
Yeah.
I didn't land on fashion. I landed on style. It took years, obviously. Looking back, like, it took a couple years to figure out the idea of Llovesick, but it really took 10 years for me to figure out through my 20s, like, something I wanted to do, something that like gave me fulfillment.
Yeah.
So it's not easy to like, I look at myself as like, I wasn't very mature in my 20s. Mm-hmm. I didn't look at my life in the future and think about, a 401k or like saving money or like bills or stuff like that. I just looked at my life with the next step and thought about like, what's next? What's going to make me happy? So, I give it to a lot of people. I feel like kids these days, or not kids, but the younger people are more in tune with their lives and like what they're doing and like what's making them happy and what they want to do and what they don't want to do. My advice would be, look at your life and figure out several things that truly make you happy, whether it's a hobby or whatever it is. And I wouldn't even say figure out how to monetize it, but I would figure out just how to do it first. If it's photography, how do you do it? You go buy a camera and you start learning how to do photography.
Yeah.
Or if it's, playing a sport or riding a bike, or these are sort of general ideas, but like, just figure out the one thing in your life or the two things or the three things that make you happy. And eventually when you start doing those things, you will come up with ideas how to monetize it or how to make it part of your life or how to make it your life.
Yeah.
I never thought about style. When I was thinking about style, I never thought about it as like making money.
Yeah.
I just thought about it as I like to dress myself.
Yeah. My take on it is that what success has been skewed so much by social media.
Yeah. I fall privy to that too.
Yeah. You always feel like you're behind because it's a never ending kind of deluge of success. Look what I'm doing. Look what I'm doing. If you're not doing this. And I think it's a difficult thing to get your head around, especially when you're younger, because you're impressionable and everybody wants to be successful. But really, to your point, success is doing something that you enjoy, that you find fulfillment in. I'm not naive. Everyone has to make money. Mm. So like, don't get me wrong, but to your point, like at least find that. And if it has to be a side hustle to begin with or something, like at least you're making progress towards. I think too many people as well want to do something, but never take that leap of faith.
Yeah. And obviously that's circumstantial,
Yeah.
right? Like not everybody has the opportunity, you know, and I'll be like frank with it. I have an amazing support system in regards to my family.
Yeah.
My family will do anything for me and I will do anything for them. And not that I use them for this leverage, but I knew that even if I failed, I could fall back on my family.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't be in a ditch somewhere or by myself. And I understand that not everybody has that.
Yeah.
But I use that as my advantage.
Yeah.
You know, I use that strong base, knowing I can take the biggest jump of my life here. And even if I fail, I have my family to fall back on.
Yeah.
And I can figure it out.
Yeah.
But if I don't take this jump, I'm going to remain feeling the way I do.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, that's what your family is there for, is to back you up when, you know, you don't have anything else.
Yeah.
And I use that to my advantage. And I know it's not easy. Like taking the jump is the hardest part.
Yeah.
You know, I said it on another podcast one time. It's like, if you have the idea, my advice, I didn't want to repeat myself, but the idea was like, or the advice was, if you have an idea that's meaningful and you truly believe in it, then take the jump.
Yeah.
Because you will regret it.
Yeah.
Even if you fail, you will regret it looking back.
Yeah. Agreed.
And I think that's super important.
Yeah, I agree. Now that you've, you know, the brand scaling, obviously you've built something that is clearly growing and there's a demand for it, right? The brand is growing. But through that journey of initially starting, you know, your entrepreneurial kind of steps, what do you think the biggest misconceptions about entrepreneurship are?
It's rainbows and gold coins.
Yeah.
It's quite the opposite. I think entrepreneurship, now that I'm in it, is glorified. From the outside, it looks like the most amazing, lucrative, fulfilling thing you could do for your own self. But really, when you're in it, it's isolation. It's long nights, early mornings. It's major stress. Many nights not feeling like you're cut out for the job. Most nights, actually. It's a roller coaster of emotion. And how I just explained it seems like the worst thing ever.
We just told people to do it, and now we're explaining how bad it is.
Yeah, but it's like, it's so not easy.
Yeah.
And again, we talk about being naive. I was very naive to that.
Yeah.
When we started. You know, I thought it was, you make a product, you put it online, you get a sale, and you make money.
Yeah.
And that's how it works. And as we grow, it's like more money, more problems. It's the most real term of all times.
Yeah.
But like, I think it's very glorified. And it's funny, you know, I just had this conversation with this girl that I'm dating. You know, I just told her I feel isolated a lot. Mm-hmm. Even with your support, she's so supportive. And my friends are so supportive. You know, when I launched my brand, I did like $700 in sales my first day. And it was because all of my best friends came out and bought shit.
Yeah.
And it was like, I have the most supportive friend group and family around me that I could ever ask for. But most of the time I feel alone. Mm-hmm. And I feel like nobody really understands what I'm going through. And there's no way they could.
Yeah.
And I would say that entrepreneurship is a blessing and a curse. And if you can manage your expectations and you can manage your emotions, then you can be cut out for it.
Yeah.
But if you don't have any control over those things, it's going to be a hard road.
Yeah.
Which I've learned. I mean, in the last year, I have more problems than I've ever had in my 20 years of life.
And how do you deal with that? You know, now that you have a brand, you have a company, how do you deal with setbacks? Like whether that's just your mindset or everything else, how do you deal with like those challenges of being, you know, that isolation and setbacks that happen in any business?
I'm in no way the first person you want to ask for this.
Okay.
But from my experience, because I still think I'm learning through my problems. I'm still learning how to deal with them, what the right moves to make, relationships. I still have a lot of work to do as an owner, as an individual, as a founder. I have a lot of work to do on myself for that aspect. But for me personally, I just think about when I started the brand, and I remember telling myself, like, there is no plan B. You have everything you have in this brand. No matter what happens, you cannot quit.
Yeah.
No matter how hard it gets, no matter how deep you are, like, you got to have that attitude of like, there are going to be really hard days, but you got to remember that, like, just one more day. And then you had that one more day attitude. One more day can turn out to be 5 more months or like 7 more months. And before you know it, like, those hard problems are going to be behind you.
Yeah.
Like, obviously everybody has individual problems that create different challenges to your business. But when I have a problem with the business, I try to follow my support system. I try to have the people around me talk me off the ledge.
Yeah.
And then once I am in a right mind, it's just back to work.
Yeah.
It's just like, it really is just like putting your head down and finding the solutions to the problems. Because every problem can be solved, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Whether it's money, whether it's relationship, whether it's a manufacturing problem, whether it's like, whatever, a technical problem, I think they all have solutions.
Yeah.
I just think it really depends on if you want to attack the solution. You know, there's a phrase, you want the good news or the bad news? And my dad always says that bad news doesn't get better with time.
Yeah.
So it's like, if you got a problem, you attack the problem and you figure out how to handle it. And maybe it won't be solved, but at least you're like making steps to like solving the problem.
So true.
Like, don't ever let shit just go under the carpet,
So true.
because it will come back and bite you in the ass.
Yeah.
And if you leave that shit and if you let it go, and then you're just going to have this problem, then this problem, then this problem.
Yeah.
And instead of having one, you're going to have 5.
Yeah.
So I would just say, like, analyze the problem and find a solution to it and go at it right away. Don't let that sit. Don't let it sit.
Yeah.
Because it won't get better.
Just compounds with time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just like everything. Like,
Yeah.
you know, I always love hearing the bad news first.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because then there's good news on the other side.
Yeah.
So-
It's a real thing with entrepreneurship, like
Yeah.
accepting reality, right? Even though it might not be what you want the reality to be. Because there's one thing that can be guaranteed is it's more often than not fixing problems than it is just riding a great wave.
That is a good way to put it. It's riding the wave.
Yeah.
Whether the wave is 100 feet or it's 2 feet, it's like, you got to ride it, whether it's good or bad.
Yeah.
And like, eventually you'll find a break
Yeah.
and like, you'll be out of it.
Yeah.
And, you know, I mean, I've been challenged with problems over the last year where it's like, I don't see the light, man. I don't see the light. But, you know, you wake up the next day, and if you have discipline, which I think is key,
Yeah.
like, fuck your motivation.
Yeah.
You know, motivation comes and goes. If you're only doing stuff when you're motivated, then you're not going to get very far. But like, if you have the discipline to just stay on track, and like, you know, you're having a bad day, so maybe, oh, I'm not going to do customer service emails today, I'm really pissed. It's like, no, you got to be disciplined, and you got to do the things that are like keeping your business afloat to stay afloat, and the problems you can deal with on the side. So
Yeah.
I think discipline's a huge part of that.
Yeah.
And I'm working on my discipline. Like, I'm not perfect. I got a lot of work to do on myself, but I think discipline will get you through anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Agreed. And it's just continuous improvement, right?
Yeah.
You know,
Small steps.
you're learning all the time, and I totally agree with you with the discipline.
Yeah. My computer screensaver says all that matters is the next step.
Yeah.
because I know that when I'm in some shit, and the only thing that matters is like what you're going to do next to solve that.
Yeah.
It's not like 4 months from now, are we going to be out of it? It's like, what are you going to do next to solve this?
Yeah. What's the thing out of, I feel like you're going to say everything because you seem to, even with the challenges, what's the thing that gives you the most joy about what you do?
I'm a big relationship guy. I love creating relationships and like maintaining them. Not only meeting really cool people through the brand, athletes, celebrities, whatever, but also like, you know, still to this day, yesterday, I had a kid DM me and was like, hey, I'm like going on this trip on Friday and I really want these 3 hats and this shirt, but like like this shipping is not going to get here. I live in like East LA. Like, is there anything you guys can do? And I was like, dude, if you can get a car and come to my house, you can come pick it up tomorrow.
Yeah.
And so I drove down to Orange County that morning, went to my warehouse and I picked up his order. I brought it back to my house and I waited for him. And like, you know, he's just a kid, just this like 25-year-old kid.
Yeah.
I don't know him. I probably will never see him again, but like, it was like a opportunity to create a one-off relationship with somebody because they had interest in my brand.
Yeah.
Like I could easily say, which is partially true, you know, meeting Leon Edwards or meeting OBJ or meeting somebody, this great athlete was like the best part of the brand. But like, even that, it's like that's like gives me fulfillment.
Yeah.
It's like seeing this kid like pull up in his Honda Civic and like me hand him a box and he's like, oh, this is so cool. Like,
yeah.
Thank you so much for doing this, dude. Like I'm going on a trip. Like I really wanted to wear this. So I think to answer your question is the relationships that I've created. And like, I might not remember that kid down the road, but maybe he'll remember me and like what I try to do for him and try to help him. And the reason I did it is because he's showing interest in me and showing interest in my brand. Yeah. So I think my favorite part about it is relationships on every level, the high level relationships and the low level relationships that come and go. Yeah. You meet so many different kinds of people. Yeah. And like, obviously the relationships with these athletes and celebrities is cool because like you look up to them. But when you meet the people that are buying it, those kids are like, dude, you know what? You like motivated me like to start doing this, or like, man, I relate to you, man. I just don't like my job right now. And like, we have a 10-minute conversation about maybe like what you can do to like do something that like makes you happy. Yeah. And then you leave that, you're like, shit. And in the moment, you don't really think about it. You're like, okay, just another thing. But then now speaking it out loud, it's like, damn, that really means something. Yeah. It's like, maybe I motivated that kid. Yeah. And that like, that's cool. Yeah, it is. You know, before I started this, I wasn't motivating anybody. Yeah. Like, I wasn't a guy that people looked at like, it was like, yeah. And like, that's not why I'm doing it, but like, it's just cool to be in a small position to like fire somebody up. Yeah. And have that positive impact on somebody, you know? Because none of that. Yeah. People don't do that. No, which is so powerful. I think it just reflects on everything, you know, through our entire conversation, like why you started the brand, you know, the place you were in, the meaning behind it, the guerrilla things you did to launch it. It's just, you know, you're the embodiment of the brand. Do you see what I mean? So I can imagine for events like that, seeing how that's having an impact and a positive impact on someone and that they're buying your product and they want to come and drive to your house to pick up the brand, like that must be kind of surreal. Yeah, I always like, I'm always like, should I be giving out my address? I was gonna say maybe don't do that too often. I got a big bulldog at home, so there you go. She patrols the house, but no, it is a little surreal. I mean, if you asked me that 4 years ago, hey, like in 4 years, kids are going to be coming to your house to pick up your product and like, you're going to have conversations with them about their lives. Yeah. I'm like, what? Yeah. And no way. Yeah. And now, you know, we're doing it and it feels, in the moment, it doesn't feel like anything, but now when you speak it, it means a lot more. Yeah. But it's cool. It's like, That's the part. That's like the point of the brand.
Yeah.
It's like to give people, and I know a lot of brands are to give inspiration and to motivate people and like do what you want to do, but it truly is like the meaning of the brand. It's like, what are you lovesick over?
Yeah.
What are you so sick without in your life?
Yeah.
What is missing in your life that you are unhappy with?
Yeah.
And I just want to be a small catalyst to maybe push you in the right direction. And maybe wearing the hat every day, maybe you wear the hat because it's cool and it looks good, but maybe like 5 months down the road, you're like lovesick and you're starting to think about the name and you're like, maybe you just learned about the story and you're like, damn, like that actually kind of relates to me.
Yeah.
Maybe I can do something on my own.
Yeah.
Maybe I will pick up that hobby that I let go a long time ago or whatever it is. Like, even if it's like, maybe I played soccer in college and I'm 29 and I'm kind of lazy and I don't do much. And you hear about Llovesick and you're like, maybe I should start playing pickup soccer again.
Yeah.
Like I was so happy when I was playing soccer or whatever it is. It's just something to like motivate you to do something.
Yeah.
Something that makes you happy.
Yeah.
Because this makes me happy.
Love that.
Makes me sick and sad sometimes too.
Yeah.
But mostly happy.
There's that side of it as well.
Yeah. I mean, it's a battle every day.
I know. It definitely is. So what's next for Llovesick? Like, what are you most excited about? And what's the ultimate ambition? Just keep growing it. What can you tell us in terms of what the ultimate ambition is? And also what's next for the brand?
We started with 2 hats and 2 t-shirts. Mm-hmm. And then we started making a lot of hats because people were buying them. And I don't know the full outlook of my brand from the outside, but a lot of people are like, oh, you got a lot of hats, you got good hats. My goal for Llovesick is to be a full scale fashion brand, not like designer or anything like that, but I want to be able to make products that you can, or to make every single product you have. Like I want your closet to have different Llovesick pieces in them, whether it's pants, socks, underwear, accessories, jackets, hats, scarves, maybe a shoe one day. That would be amazing. A shoe would be crazy.
You've got to do shoes now.
Yeah. I've had friends in my ear like, don't ever do shoes. Like in the fashion industry, like don't do shoes.
Oh yeah.
It's too hard. Don't do shoes.
As well.
I mean, doing a sneaker would be, God damn, that would be insane.
Yeah.
That would be like a full scale or full circle moment for me. That would be amazing. But I want to be like a real brand. I'm not saying I'm not a real brand, but you know, I started this brand self-funded. So I didn't have a lot of money to put up front. Mm-hmm. That's why I started small. And once we kind of started doing really good with hats, we started making t-shirts.
Yeah.
And then when we started doing pretty good t-shirts, we started making shorts. And then shorts led to pants. And I just did denim this past spring, excuse me. And I just want to have a full range of clothing. I want to have jackets, to the winter jackets, to the summer flip-flops or whatever it is. Yeah. To the swimsuit, to the coach's jacket or whatever. I want to have a full scale brand. And I'm doing this meticulously. I have a lot of people telling me, make this, make that, make this. And I want to make all that, but I have to be able to walk before I can run. Yeah. I can't just put out a $300 jacket tomorrow and expect to sell it. Yeah. I got to let people know that like, you can trust me for sweatshirts. You can trust me for higher valued prices. Like doing this denim and seeing how the success we've had with the denim made me realize that we can do track pants and maybe we can do jackets because these are higher quality, higher priced items and people are receptive to it. So we can try these other items. So I want to continue to build the catalog. Yeah. Those are really what's on my mind is just like building the catalog out and growing the brand. I want to do partnerships. I had a collaboration with an NHL team last month, mm-hmm. which was super cool. I would love to do individual partnerships with like individual people. Yeah. And then maybe a brand down the road as well. We're going to do sunglasses next summer. I have some really good friends over at Aquila. I don't know if you're familiar with them. Yeah. Those guys actually were with me at Minimal.
Oh, no way.
And then we all split up. when they sold the company and they started Aquila.
Oh, okay.
So much of the advice I get and people I lean on are those guys.
Yeah.
Because they've been in the industry for a while. They started Dope too. I don't know if you ever heard of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, shit. I didn't know.
Yeah. So like I get a lot of information from those guys, but I just want to have a full scale brand. I want to be a real brand. I know from the outside, you could say I'm a real brand, but I don't fully feel that yet.
Yeah.
We're babies in my opinion.
Yeah.
I don't really know the full reach that my brand has. It's funny, when I went to Vegas for a UFC event, we were wearing, me and the boys were wearing Llovesick, and people would stop us. And that was that was last fall. That was the first time in the last 3.5, 4 years that I was like, oh damn, like we're bigger than 37,000 followers on Instagram.
Yeah.
That's how I always judged it.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's my Instagram followers.
Yeah.
But I was like, damn, we have more reach than I thought we did.
Yeah.
So I just want to continue to grow that. The one thing I'm really, really trying to do in the next year is tell this story about Llovesick and get it out to the masses, whether that be on Instagram or TikTok or whatever it be. I want to tell the story because I know people relate to it.
Yeah.
And I know that will bring in more people, and I know that will motivate more people.
Yeah.
So I don't have big dreams for the brand quite yet because I still feel like I'm building it, and I don't want to get ahead of myself. But maybe we get acquired one day down the road.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Yeah. I like that because you're still building.
Yeah.
So, in one way, like why put an end game on it?
That's exactly what my thought process is, right? It's like walk before you can run, just like I said. Like I'm focused on what I'm doing now.
Yeah.
I don't really even look at other streetwear brands that much.
Yeah.
I do have some brands that I'm very fond over. I think their social media is amazing. Just the storytelling is crazy. I don't know if you heard of this brand called Minted New York.
Yes.
He crushes it.
Yeah, he does. He's
props to you, man. He, like, if you see this, but he does a great job.
Yeah.
Of telling his story and using his life to market his brand. Like, but I don't really look at many other brands and be like, I want to be like them. I'm just trying to do what I think is right and the style that I like.
Yeah.
And just continue to build it.
Yeah.
And, take the advice from the people that I trust along the way, and don't get too ahead of myself, and don't get too big or too big headed, and just remain humble and be thankful for the opportunity that I have, because I know what the other side's like.
Yeah.
I don't want to go back to that ever in my life.
That's a powerful motivator.
Yeah.
I think a very common story. Same for me.
Yeah.
Not wanting to go back to a 9 to 5 that I hated.
We like know that feeling.
Yeah.
And like that, I'm getting chills under this jacket because I know the feeling of like waking up and being on somebody else's time.
Yeah. There's one more thing you have to do for the brand is make more of those.
I'll get a personal one for you made.
Yeah. That would be okay.
We, like I said, we're going to get these going. These are going to be like, the goal for this, as far as product wise, we got a summer collection, if you don't mind me talking about that.
Yeah.
Summer collection coming out in 3 weeks, shorts and tees, nothing too crazy. But some cool products. And then in the fall, we have a whole basics line coming out.
Okay.
Like a core collection of products. And then we're dropping these tracksuits as well. We're trying to get our guy Leon in it.
Yeah.
I want to call him the Donnie tracksuit.
Okay.
And I know you're probably familiar with that.
Yep, I am.
And I'm trying to interchanneling the UK vibe in the tracksuit.
Yeah.
When I started coming up with this idea, one of the ideas I have, for instance, like when I think of something, it's usually because I see it.
Yeah.
Or I see something that reminds me of something.
Yeah.
And one of the greatest movies in the world, Green Street Hooligans.
Yeah.
Haven't watched it in so long. And about 7 months ago, I watched it. And I see the boys in the tracksuits, and I'm like, I'm going to make tracksuits.
I was going to say, I grew up in tracksuits.
Yeah.
Back in England, you were either Adidas, Nike Kappa, Alessio, something
Alessio?
like that. Alesso, maybe. I lived in tracksuits.
Yeah.
I had this sick like a luminous, like yellow Adidas tracksuit with blue stripes, like matching top and pants. And I rocked it all the time.
Do you have any pictures of that?
I do.
You'll have to show me after off camera.
I will. Yeah,
that will give me a little motivation.
I'll dig it out. But yeah, tracksuits is like.
I literally saw that and I was like, I'll make a tracksuit. And then this is right at the same time I like had met Leon Edwards. And I was like, my guy's from UK. Like, this is perfect. Yeah. I'm going to call it the Donnie. I did a little like research on like UK slang. I was like, I'm going to call it the Donnie. And I was like, this is it. This is it. So that's how amazing. Like kind of an inside to like how I come up with stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Love
it's kind of cool. It's just like, you know, the cool thing about this job is like everything is motivation.
Yeah.
I'll walk on the street and maybe I'll see like a hat. And maybe I hate the hat, but maybe I like the letter placement.
Yeah.
And I'll like look at that.
Yeah.
And so like, that's what like the really cool thing about this job is like wherever you go, you can find inspiration.
Yeah.
And it's like never ending.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool.
Love that. Listen, man, I could talk to you for ages.
Yeah.
I really appreciate you coming on. Like I said, huge fan of the brand. Like I've seen it and I've just seen it grow and I've been following you for a while. And just really appreciate you coming on. And I didn't know too much about the story, if I'm honest with you. So just knowing kind of the position you're in and why you started the brand, the meaning behind the name, like as someone who works with lots of brands, there's brands that have a reason for existing and there's just product. And I think like it's really cool that everything that you've put into the brand and how you're thinking about building it comes from like such a level of authenticity from you out to the world and through the message. So I think that's why it's translating to people.
That I truly believe that too. And that's the story I want to push.
Yeah.
Because it's relatable. So thank you for having me, to being able to tell the story and get it out there. And it's a great opportunity. So appreciate you.
Of course, man. Thank you. I'm definitely getting one of those.
Yeah.
Hook me up.
Don't have to ask me 3 times.